Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Star Wars is the type of galaxy where technological advancement means just building things bigger and putting more guns on things. Honestly, that's what the 10-year-old inside of all of us would like to do, but in reality, it doesn't work. You get stuff like this, which then turns into this, which then turns into this. Another example of the make it bigger strategy would be the various walkers that can be found during every era in Star Wars. But it's not just the size of these vehicles that bother me, it's more the question of why all the major galactic governments seem to use these cumbersome designs. As we saw in the Battle of Hoth, a large armored walker is very top-heavy, and their long legs are an obvious weak point in their design. Compared to, say, something like a turbo tank, they're much slower, and compared to a hover tank, they present a much larger target. The whole design is kind of pointless, so why do they make these vehicles like this? Well, back in the day when The Empire Strikes Back first came to theaters, no one had ever seen anything like the AT-AT, and it was probably a magical moment. Moviegoers just weren't as jaded as we are now, and a lot of films just didn't have the special effects capabilities that ILM had. And George Lucas and his creative team were just terrific at creative design and making otherworldly machines come alive. Both inventors and sci-fi writers have toyed around with the idea of giant machines propelled by mechanical legs. There was GE's early attempts at creating four-legged robots that are actually quite similar to the ones the US Marines tested a few years back. Orson Welles' War of the Machines featured giant alien machines that were propelled by mechanical legs as well. These were actually one of the original inspirations for the AT-AT. And perhaps the most important influence for the AT-AT was a drawing made by Sid Mead of a four-legged cargo machine. But what about in-universe? How does Star Wars explain the reason why walkers were one of the most prolifically used armored vehicles? Well, let's start by going back to the Clone Wars era and looking at the Grand Army of the Republic. They fielded a few different types of walkers, and we'll be focusing just on two of them, starting out with the all-terrain recon transport. The AT-RT is one of the smallest iterations of the Star Wars walker. As the name implies, it's mainly used by recon clone troopers for scouting, but it also makes a good frontal assault vehicle, think mechanized cavalry. With a top speed of 75 kilometers per hour, it's easily one of the fastest walkers in production, and having that speed makes it a very versatile weapon. And because it uses legs to propel it, it's truly an all-terrain vehicle. And because the AT-RT lacks armor and heavy weaponry, it's light enough that it can even jump up in the air. It's this maneuverability that really makes this platform one of the best walkers in Star Wars. The second walker from the Republic era that we'll be talking about is the all-terrain tactical enforcer. What's really special about this weapon's platform is not only does it have 6 legs, these legs have many different settings that allows them to do amazing things. One version included magnetic locks, which allowed the AT-TE to function on the hull of a starship. Another version was capable of climbing completely vertical rock faces. The 6 legs gave the machine a good amount of redundancy, and they were short enough and armored well enough that they didn't present easy targets for enemies. The Galactic Empire redesigned the AT-TE into the AT-AT. The key changes they made were to raise the platform considerably and get rid of 2 of the mechanical legs. The official reason they redesigned the vehicle was so that it could have more protection from landmines. The secondary reason was because of the special types of missions the AT-AT walker faced. The Grand Army of the Republic needed vehicles for a conventional war on large battlefields. The Galactic Empire needed a peacekeeping force that had as many force multipliers as possible. The AT-AT served as an excellent weapons platform and observation point. It also was a very intimidating looking machine. And before the alliance that restored the Republic became a credible threat, the Empire was mainly using these walkers to crush small insurgency forces that barely had any small arms, let alone anything that could damage the AT-AT's armor. The AT-ST, on the other hand, was a pretty poorly designed machine. It wasn't small enough where its maneuverability provided safety for its drivers, but it also wasn't large enough to cross over larger obstacles. And on top of that, it was lightly armored and lightly armed, which is why these vehicles took such heavy casualties during the Battle of Endor. The First Order continued the tradition of using giant walkers with the AT-M6. This redesigned walker was not only larger and better armed, it also had a redesigned gait and thicker legs, making it much harder to take down. The higher platform of the AT-M6 gave it a better firing angle on enemy positions. The walkers in Star Wars, especially the later iterations, were more about looking physically imposing rather than being an efficient weapon. For a newly trained rebel soldier, though, the sight of one of these beasts could be extremely demoralizing and cause entire units to rout. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button, and like us on Facebook. And also, I hope you guys enjoy your Christmas and have a great New Year's. Thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.